Okay, now let's talk about our hominins. So first, I just want to address these silly pictures here. So my family and I, we went to Washington D.C. and we used their Neanderthal at the Smithsonian had a display where you could take your picture and turn yourself into another hominin species. So here's one of my daughters as Sahelanthropus. Here's me as Australopithecus. Then my husband as a Neanderthal, and then my youngest daughter as Homo floresiensis. So these two are more closely related to us. They both have that same genus of Homo compared to these other species. You may be able to get the app. I don't think the app is actually available anymore, but you may be able to see if there's a way that you can turn your picture into another species that's related to us. So when we're talking about studying human origins and studying human evolution, this is a field of paleoanthropology. And this is just studying the brief history since humans and chimp lines diverged from each other. So chimps did not turn into us. Chimps and hominins separated into two different branches. There's about 20 species of extinct hominins. And hominin is a species that is more closely related to humans than they are to chimps. That's how we define a hominin, things that are more closely related to us than to chimps. There are thousands of hominin species. And over the past, like 500,000 years or so, there were 2 or 3 species that were on Earth at the same time. Our species, Homo sapiens, we arose about 200,000 years ago, which is really quite young when we consider that a lot of these species we're talking about millions of years ago, and now we're just 200,000 years ago when Homo sapiens arose. So which of these does not include humans? Synapsids, are we synapsids? Lobe fins, are we lobe fins? Diapsids, are we diapsids? Craniates, is that who we are? Osteichthyans. So 4 of those we are, 1 of those we are not. Do you remember which one? To be a human, we have a lot of characters that distinguish us from being other apes. One is an upright posture. We don't walk around on our hands and our feet or on our knuckles and our knees. We walk around upright. Bipedal locomotion. We have 2 legs. Usually, we have 2 legs that we walk around. We have larger brains than other apes. So, although our other primates had larger brains than other animals, we have even larger brains still. And that larger brain enables us to do things like develop language, develop symbolic thought, and develop artistic expression. So we don't see like cats with paintbrushes drawing on the wall. Artistic expression is something that humans do. We're able to produce and use tools. Although humans aren't the only clade that does this, we do see some other species that can make and use tools, or at least use tools. We have reduced jaw bones and jaw muscles, and we have a shorter digestive tract. Okay, so what are those characters that distinguish hominins from other apes? So when we're talking about these different traits we have, bipedalism and brain size are 2 very big ones to consider who is a human. Australopiths, and we talked about Australopiths here. That's who I was. Australopiths were bipedal, that means we walked upright, but had small brains. So we know that bipedalism arose millions of years before a larger brain size did. So this includes that there are upright walking hominin footprints that we can see from 3.5 million years ago, and also fossil skeletons. Here is an artist's reconstruction of what Australopithecus afarensis would have looked like. This includes, you may have heard of a famous fossil called Lucy. So Lucy was an Australopithecus. Larger brains mark the evolution of the genus Homo. And here, this is just showing you body size going up and brain size going up. So if we draw a straight line here, this shows kind of as body size goes up, brain size is going up too. Down here, body size is going up, but brain size is not going up much. So gorillas have a smaller ratio of brain size to body compared to like Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalensis. So it is interesting here. This has a larger brain, but also a larger body size. So, we kind of all have this nice long, all of these Homo species here that have a large brain size compared to their body size. Homo habilis, which is this species here, fossils have been found with stone tools, so being able to take stone and turn that into other stones. Homo ergaster would be here. These fossils were found with even more sophisticated stone tools, and the fossils have long, slender legs that were well adapted for distance walking. Homo erectus here was the first hominin to leave Africa, so then it was able to start radiating and spreading across the world. And then Homo sapiens, we're here. That's us. Neanderthals are, these are the oldest hominin fossils outside of Africa. They were 1.8 million years old. Homo neanderthalensis, or the Neanderthals, lived in Europe from about 350,000 years ago until about 28,000 years ago. Their brain was as large as modern humans. They hunted big game with tools made of stone and wood. A lot of people alive today, especially if you have European ancestry, you may have up to like 5% of your DNA may be Neanderthal DNA. So they were a distinct species from humans. Our last common ancestor lived about 500,000 years ago, but there may have been some interbreeding there. Although this species has died out, some of their genes do still exist in us. Okay, as humans diverged from other primates, which appeared first? A, reduced jawbones, B, language, C, bipedal locomotion, D, making stone tools, or E, an enlarged brain? So humans then spread around the world, left Africa and spread around the world, but in multiple waves. You can see a wave here coming to the Middle East, moving then to Europe, moving to Asia, moving to North America, moving to South America, moving to Australia, all around the world. Humans inherited mitochondrial DNA. That MT stands for mitochondrial. We inherited mitochondrial DNA from a woman who lived 160 to 200,000 years ago and who diverged from a common African ancestor. So our mitochondrial DNA can be traced back to her. That doesn't mean that she was the first human. It just means that our mitochondrial DNA all goes back to her. So we left Africa to Asia about 50 to 60,000 years ago, and from there to Europe, Southeast Asia, and Australia. And some things that helped us evolve as humans is our ability to be creative and for symbolic art. Here's some pretty art on this. So think of an example in which different features of organisms in the hominin evolutionary lineage evolved at different rates. Okay, so we talked about these over the past few slides. And then just some common misconceptions about human evolution. One, early hominins were chimpanzees or evolved from chimpanzees. That's false. Hominins and chimpanzees are two separate lineages. Although we had a common ancestor, we have evolved separately. A myth is human evolution is like a ladder leading directly from an ancestral ape to Homo sapiens. That's false. There isn't this intentional movement in evolution. There are many branches. What's true is there are many branches and some coexisting species in the human evolutionary tree, and Homo sapiens were the final survivors. We just were adapted and able to continue surviving when the other species died out. Here is a fossil evidence of interbreeding among hominin species. I wouldn't be able to tell you how that shows interbreeding, but that is what that fossil is used for. And then just as a reminder of these different primates we've talked about, amongst our chordates, we discussed our cephalochordata or the lancelets. They are considered chordates even though they're invertebrates. Urochordata or tunicates, which are also invertebrates but still considered chordates. Then Myxinae or hagfishes and Petromyzontida or lampreys. These are now considered vertebrates because they have a backbone. And also craniates because we have a head. Chondrichthyes, which include sharks, rays, skates, and fish, are now the gnathostomes. We have a jaw. Then the evolution of bones with actinopterygii, or the ray fin fishes, the bony fishes. Then the lobe fins, which start having muscles in their fins or limbs, starting with actinistia, or the coelacanths. Then dipnoi, or the lungfishes, started being able to breathe. Then the tetrapods, which have 4 limbs and a neck, and a fused pelvic girdle, would be our amphibians and everything else. Amphibians including our salamanders, frogs, and caecilians. Then our amniotes, which have an amniotic egg and a rib cage for ventilation, include reptiles like tuatara, lizards, snakes, turtles, crocodilians, and birds. And finally, the mammals, which are the monotremes, marsupials, and eutherians. The monotremes are the egg-laying mammals. The marsupials have the pouched, and the eutherians are the fully placental mammals, like rodents and primates. Okay, we made it through the biggest chapter of this semester. I will see you back. We're going to skip ahead to chapter 40 and talk about different types of cells and tissues. And then we're going to spend a few weeks talking about our different organ systems. All right, see you later. Bye.